Yeah, this is like maybe 10 years ago. And more than that even. Gee.
You cannot let people tell you what you're going to be. Haters are your motivators. I no longer care about people laughing at me or laughing with me. I'm just out there having the time of my life now. But beyond the spotlight, Wendy Williams's journey is not just about fame. It's about resilience, struggle, and a battle for control over her own life. She built an empire with her bold personality, raw honesty, and sharp wit.
Squeezes the muscles behind your eyeballs. And so that's the reason for...
However, behind the glitz and glamour, Wendy faced health struggles, personal betrayals, and a conservatorship battle that shocked the world. Now, Wendy finds herself in a fight for her freedom, trapped in a legal arrangement that dictates her finances and well-being. Fans are left wondering, how did one of the most iconic figures in media end up here? To understand Wendy's plight, we must go back to where it all began. Her rise to fame, her battles behind the scenes, and the shocking fall that no one saw coming. The rise of a media queen. Wendy Joanne Williams was born on July 18, 1964, in Asbury Park, New Jersey, as the second of 3 children. Raised in a hard-working, middle-class family, Wendy's upbringing was deeply rooted in discipline and ambition. Her parents, Thomas and Shirley Williams, were educators who emphasized the importance of excellence. From an early age, Wendy stood out, not just because of her height, but also because of her larger-than-life personality. Unlike her siblings, who excelled in academics, Wendy gravitated toward entertainment and media. Her love for storytelling and drama led her to Northeastern University, where she majored in communications and worked at the college radio station. It was there that she honed her skills, developing a voice that would later dominate the airwaves. Her career began modestly at WVIS in the U.S. Virgin Islands. However, her big break came when she landed a job at a New York radio station. In the late 1980s, she became a force in radio, earning a reputation for her unfiltered, no-holds-barred approach. She asked the questions no one else dared to ask, making celebrities uncomfortable, yet keeping listeners hooked. By the 1990s, Wendy was one of the biggest names in New York City radio, hosting a wildly popular afternoon drive time show on WBLS. Her ability to connect with audiences was undeniable, and her controversial takes made her both loved and feared. She broke barriers for Black women in media, proving that authenticity and boldness could carve a path to success in an industry notorious for tearing people down. The transition to television. In 2008, Wendy took her brand to the next level with The Wendy Williams Show. The transition from radio to television was seamless. Wendy brought the same energy, raw honesty, and signature catchphrases to the screen. Her ability to engage with her audience was unparalleled, and her gossip segments became legendary. She gave her audience an experience. It wasn't just a talk show, it was a cultural moment. Wendy's fans, known as her co-hosts, adored her for saying what everyone else was thinking. She created a space where no topic was off-limits, discussing everything from celebrity scandals to personal struggles. However, behind the scenes, Wendy was facing battles that the public only caught glimpses of. As her fame skyrocketed, so did the pressures of maintaining her persona. Health issues, personal betrayals, and professional challenges loomed large, threatening to overshadow her success. The health struggles that changed everything. In 2018, Wendy shocked her audience by revealing that she was battling Graves' disease, an autoimmune disorder affecting the thyroid. Symptoms like fatigue, anxiety, and difficulty concentrating made it harder for her to function at her best. Despite taking breaks from her show to focus on her health, rumors swirled about her condition. Adding to her health woes was her diagnosis of lymphedema, a condition that caused visible swelling in her legs and feet. Wendy didn't shy away from discussing these issues, often using her platform to educate her audience. However, her struggles left her vulnerable to public scrutiny. Over time, her behavior on the show became erratic. There were moments when she seemed disoriented or physically unsteady, leading to speculation about substance abuse or cognitive decline. Wendy fiercely denied these rumors, insisting that she was in control. But behind the scenes, she was battling more than just her health. She was also dealing with personal turmoil. The devastating end of her marriage. Wendy's 22-year marriage to Kevin Hunter was central to her life and career. Not only was he her husband, but he also served as her business manager, making crucial decisions about her brand. However, in 2019, their marriage crumbled in a very public manner. It was revealed that Kevin had fathered a child with another woman, a betrayal that Wendy could not overlook. The divorce was messy, with financial and legal battles playing out in the public eye. For Wendy, it was both a personal and professional crisis. Kevin had been instrumental in managing her career, and his departure left her in a vulnerable position. Despite the pain, Wendy embraced her newfound freedom. She spoke openly about moving on, dating again, and reclaiming her independence. However, the toll of the divorce, combined with her ongoing health issues, created a perfect storm that would lead to her most significant battle yet: the conservatorship and allegations of exploitation. In 2021, Wendy's absence from her show raised red flags. She took an indefinite leave, citing health concerns, but rumors of deeper issues persisted. By early 2022, news broke that Wendy was placed under a financial conservatorship. A court ruled that Wendy was unable to manage her finances, granting control to a guardian appointed by Wells Fargo. The decision sparked outrage among her fans, many of whom questioned whether Wendy was being taken advantage of. Wendy herself claimed that she was being exploited. She expressed frustration over being unable to access her own money, insisting that she was mentally sound. The situation drew comparisons to Britney Spears' conservatorship battle, with fans rallying behind Wendy, demanding transparency and justice. But the most heartbreaking revelation came in 2024, when Wendy's team announced that she had been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, the same condition that affected actor Bruce Willis. The news confirmed many suspicions about Wendy's declining health, but also raised concerns about how she was being treated by those around her. Continue speaking. I got divorced. You're right. I moved to New York, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to New Jersey. I was solo, just me and my cats. You know what I'm saying? I got these 2 twin cats who, by the way, have been sold, and I had no idea until I talked to that person yesterday. She told me that I no longer have my cats. The loss of her beloved pets was a devastating blow, one that symbolized the extent to which Wendy Williams' life was no longer her own. The restrictions and lack of autonomy she faced under the conservatorship extended beyond her personal life and into her professional career. Despite being an accomplished media personality, Wendy was stripped of the ability to manage her own affairs. This not only undermined her confidence, but also fed her growing resentment toward the system. Wendy repeatedly emphasized that she was fully capable of making her own decisions and that the conservatorship was both unnecessary and unjust. The impact of these restrictions was evident in Wendy's demeanor during interviews. While she displayed moments of her trademark wit and humor, there was an undercurrent of sadness and frustration that revealed the extent of her struggles. Wendy's fight to regain her autonomy was not just about reclaiming her finances or freedom, it was about restoring her dignity and sense of self. Wendy Williams' case is not an isolated incident, but a glaring example of the flaws within the conservatorship system. Her story has brought renewed attention to the structural issues that allow guardians to wield immense power, often with little oversight. Wendy and her family have described the situation as emblematic of a larger systemic problem where vulnerable individuals can become trapped under legal arrangements designed to protect them. The foundation of the conservatorship system is to safeguard people who are deemed incapable of managing their affairs. However, as Wendy and her niece have pointed out, this system can easily be manipulated. In Wendy's case, allegations of abuse and financial exploitation against her guardian, Sabrina Morse, have raised serious questions about the checks and balances within guardianships. We talked about this yesterday. She hasn't had, from what I understand, a medical evaluation to see if her rights can be restored, Wendy's niece, Alex, explained. And it seems as though instead of this guardian, Sabrina, working with her, she's made it difficult every step of the way for my aunt to live any sort of healthy, independent life. It's almost as if she doesn't want my aunt to show that she's healthy and independent. Because as we know about these guardianships, and as my aunt has said, the system is broken. The longer she's under this guardianship, the longer they have the keys to her life, her personal, financial, and emotional well-being. Everything. One of the primary criticisms of Wendy's conservatorship is the lack of transparency. According to Alex, Wendy has not been given a comprehensive medical evaluation to reassess her alleged cognitive impairment, despite having spent years under guardianship. The absence of regular evaluations is a broader issue within the system, where individuals can remain under restrictive arrangements indefinitely, even when their circumstances change. This lack of scrutiny often extends to financial matters. Wendy has repeatedly expressed frustration over her inability to access her own funds, even for basic needs, while the court-appointed guardian has full control over her finances. There appears to be little accountability regarding how the money is being managed. Wendy's experience underscores how conservatorships can become mechanisms for financial exploitation, with guardians benefiting at the expense of the people they are supposed to protect. The emotional toll of the conservatorship system is another pressing concern. Wendy's isolation from her family and loved ones highlights how guardianships can sever essential support networks. Alex shared how difficult this has been. You're sitting in a space, and every single day you're not getting sunlight. You're not able to leave your place. You can't see people. You can't have free conversations. You do this day in and day out for months and years at a time. Emotionally and mentally, that breaks you down in ways that I can't even imagine. These systemic issues are not unique to Wendy's case. Advocates for guardianship reform have long criticized the system for being outdated and susceptible to abuse. A report by the New York Times highlighted how conservatorships can become vehicles for exploitation, with guardians mismanaging funds, neglecting their responsibilities, and prioritizing their own interests over those of their wards. Wendy's case has become another high-profile example of these broader concerns, drawing comparisons to Britney Spears' battle to end her conservatorship. The public backlash to Wendy's situation has reignited calls for legal reform in New York, where her conservatorship is based. Lawmakers have introduced bills aimed at curbing guardianship abuse. These proposed reforms include measures to ensure that individuals under conservatorship have regular evaluations, increased transparency in financial management, and greater oversight of guardians. Advocates argue that such changes are long overdue, particularly in light of high-profile cases like Wendy's. It's not just about her, Alex said, and thank God that we have platforms where we can talk about this. But there is a lack of scrutiny across the board. There's a lack of funding. There are too few guardians for the number of people under this system, and as a result, a lot of things go unchecked. There's a lot of neglect, as well as financial exploitation of some of the most vulnerable people. That's the reality. Those are facts. It's written in print. And my aunt is one of those people, one of over 28,000 people under guardianship in New York. Wendy's niece, Alex, has been one of the most vocal advocates for change. During her interview on The Breakfast Club, she described the guardianship system as fundamentally broken, emphasizing how it often fails the people it is meant to protect. Alex highlighted the financial exploitation and emotional neglect that can occur under guardianships, urging lawmakers to take action. The longer they have control, the longer they can keep her trapped, Alex said, pointing to the systemic incentives that can perpetuate these arrangements. Wendy herself has called for reform, describing her experience as a cautionary tale. She has expressed frustration over being labeled as cognitively impaired without evidence and has repeatedly emphasized her desire to regain her independence. Her public statements have resonated with fans and advocates, many of whom have rallied around her with hashtags like Free Wendy to demand accountability. The systemic problems highlighted by Wendy's case extend beyond her personal struggles. They reflect a broader need for reform in how conservatorships are structured and implemented. Wendy's story has become a catalyst for change, shedding light on a system that has operated in the shadows for too long. As lawmakers and advocates push for greater transparency and accountability, Wendy's fight for freedom has taken on greater significance, not just for her, but for thousands of others trapped in similar situations. "The guardianship system is overloaded," Alex stated. "There's a reason why lawmakers are calling on state leaders to reform this system, because it's broken. And it's a shame that we're in this place. I know I'm getting emotionally charged, but this is how sickening it is and how tired I am of having to talk about this." The uncertain future Wendy Williams' story is one of triumph, struggle, and resilience. She broke barriers in the media industry, becoming a voice for millions. But her journey also highlights the darker side of fame: exploitation, betrayal, and the loss of personal freedom. Her conservatorship remains a hot topic, with many wondering if Wendy will ever regain control over her life. While she continues to battle her health issues, one thing is certain: Wendy Williams is a fighter. She built an empire through sheer determination, and despite the challenges, her legacy in media is undeniable. The question remains, will Wendy Williams get the justice and dignity she deserves? Or will she become yet another cautionary tale of what happens when the system turns against those who once had it all? As her story unfolds, fans continue to support her, hoping that the queen of all media will one day reclaim her throne.